Ms. Sylvia Lim.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Speaker. I have three clarifications for the Senior Minister of State. The first point is that she told the House that the AG and the Deputy AG have been observing the conflict rules in their functions. I'd like to ask her categorically whether she's saying that the AG and the Deputy AG, Mr. Kumar, are not involved in advising the government on the matters concerning the Lee estate. That's the first clarification. The second clarification is she mentioned the fact that there have been friends of ministers who have been appointed to various organs of state, and I think she mentioned the judiciary as one of them. But does she not agree really that for the AGC, what we're faced now with is not the judiciary where there's security of tenure, where judges are appointed secure till 65, but we have an AG now who is on a short-term contract, 3 years. That puts a very different complexion on things. Third clarification is, does she agree or not agree that it is desirable to have distance between the AGC leadership and the government, which was what was believed by some former ministers, including Professor Jayakumar, or have standards changed?
On the first question, the short answer is that the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General are not advising the government on any matters in which they have previously been involved. In other words, whatever it is that they may, in private practice, have advised people on, when they come into the AGC, if it impacts onto those areas, then they won't advise on it. So if your question is, for example, is Mr. Lucien Wong advising the Ministerial Committee on 38 Oxley Road, the answer is no, for the very simple reason that in AGC there are other officers. So this is not a difficult thing. All lawyers know this. If you have acted on something and you happen to change an organization or go somewhere else and there is a conflict, you recuse yourself. It's very simple. It's not a difficult thing to do, and lawyers do it in practice all the time, and the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General are observing these rules. So I can assure Ms. Sylvia Lim that the rules of conflict are being observed. On the second point, Ms. Sylvia Lim said it is different from the bench where there is security of tenure, but in AGC there is no security of tenure, which puts a different complexion on things. It does not put a different complexion on things. All lawyers, good lawyers, understand their duty, which is simply this: if you're in a position of conflict, you do not act, you recuse yourself. And as to whether it is desirable to have distance, the correct question really is, are the members or are the officers of AGC, do they act independently? In other words, if there is a conflict, do they stand aside? Do they apply their minds to this without fear or favor? Do they do their duty? And the answer to those questions is yes. They do act independently, they apply their minds, and they carry out their duties without fear or favor. So in short, the officers in the AGC, whether it's the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, or anyone down along the line, all observe proper rules of conduct.
Ms. Sylvia Lim.
Thank you, sir. Two follow-up clarifications for Senior Minister of State. Is she saying that the Deputy AG, because he may not have acted on the Lee estate in some capacity in private practice, is now free to advise the government on such matters from the government perspective? Is that what she's saying? And the second clarification is, she didn't answer directly. She said I asked the wrong question about whether there should be distance between the AGC and the government, because the critical question to her was whether the officers act professionally and independently. But this is really quite a different take from even Professor Jayakumar, because if you read what his interview goes into, he says that he may occasionally have lunch, working lunches with the AG, but it is important to have the appearance of distance. You cannot get too close to these people because people might assume that there will be some compromise. So I think it is the appearance itself is also important, not just in fact whether people think they're able to act independently, but the appearance of when you're too close to somebody, it doesn't create a good feeling.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I've already answered the question. If there is any matter on which the Attorney General or the Deputy Attorney General have acted on when they were in private practice, and if that same matter comes up when they're in AGC, they obviously cannot advise on it, then they will not do so. With respect to the other matters, I've already explained. There have been instances before when either the Attorney General or judges may have been close friends with ministers or anyone else, but that has not deterred them from doing their duty. I understand what Ms. Lim is saying. She's saying actual conflict and sort of appearances. In terms of any actual conflict, I've already stated the position quite clearly. They know their duty and they will carry out their duty. They will not act where there is any conflict of interest. And as far as appearances goes, if she has any specific allegation of that, please highlight it, because as far as I can see, there has been no form of impropriety, appearance or otherwise.
May I remind members that we are not debating on the role of the AJC or the Deputy AJC, so please confine your clarifications to matters which SMS Indranee Rajah has said. Mr. Ratiakan?